Blog Talk Radio.
When you don't go to Geico.com, car insurance can be confusing. Like Swedish techno confusing.
Bark, bark, meow, meow. Dance with me, purple cow. Bark, bark, meow, meow. Ooh, you lovely cow.
Geico makes it easy. With 24/7 access, all you have to do is go to Geico.com and you could save money on car insurance. It just makes sense. Unlike,
Dance with me, purple cow. I like your moves.
Blog Talk Radio.
Franchise interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews. Welcome to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship. Listen to interviews with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And now, welcome your host, Marty McDermott, and Franchise Interviews.
Hi everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 9 years, we've been asking the entrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show today. We're meeting with Brent Anderson, the CEO of Polestar Pilates. And Polestar Pilates creates life-changing movement experiences by fusing Pilates, physical therapy, and mind-body energy systems with facilities worldwide. Polestar Pilates has developed a low-cost, high-return business model for entrepreneurs and aspiring studio owners to meet the demands centered by increasing health awareness and interest. I'm going to talk to Brent about that in just a moment on Franchise Interviews. So stick around because we have a great show.
The Stone Coat Franchise Opportunity. Are you looking for a unique and lucrative franchise opportunity? If so, take a look at Stone Coat. With a patented process which creates a true stone finish on almost any wall or ceiling, Stone Coat is a true game-changing product in the multi-billion-dollar construction industry. Stone Coat is applied faster, cleaner, and cheaper than conventional quarried stone, which saves both time and money. With advantages in remodel and new construction of both residential and commercial projects, Stone Coat is a true crossover product. The Stone Coat franchise opportunity provides a low startup cost, low operating expenses, comprehensive training, ongoing support, and no royalty payments. For more information on the Stone Coat franchise opportunity, go to www.stonecoatfranchise.com. That's www.stonecoatfranchise.com, or call us at 972-380-2700. That's 972-380-2700.
Franchise Teacher.
Would you like to know how to franchise your concept or grow your franchise business?
Meet the experts at Franchise Teacher.
The goal of Franchise Teacher is to teach, coach, consult, and advise. The team of experts at Franchise Teacher will evaluate your business model and present you with a winning business strategy.
Franchise Teacher will help you decide whether or not your concept works and if it's franchisable. Franchise Teacher is proud to have over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors.
Franchise Teacher are developers of over a dozen franchise systems, which include brick and mortar as well as home-based concepts of nearly 3,000 combined franchise locations.
Whether you need to add more units or get more customers, Franchise Teacher can help. We will teach.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn our proven system.
Coach.
Franchise Teacher will help you provide a game plan to succeed.
Consult.
Franchise Teacher will make sure you stay on track.
And advise.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn from our over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors. Take advantage of our free, no-obligation phone consultation. Simply go to franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
That's franchiseteacher.com, or call us at 561-385-3032.
Hi, this is Connie McDermott, Administrative Assistant for Franchise Interviews, LLC, and you are listening to Franchise Interviews.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 9 years we've been asking the Franchipreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and as we were saying earlier, we have a great show today. We're meeting with Brent Anderson, the CEO of Polestar Pilates. And Polestar Pilates creates life-changing movement experiences by fusing Pilates, physical therapy, and mind-body energy systems with facilities worldwide. Hi, Brent. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Great, Marty. Thanks for inviting us.
Oh, this is my pleasure, Brent. We always like to ask our guests, where are you calling from this morning?
We're in beautiful Miami, Florida.
Lucky you. And it is beautiful down there, isn't it?
We just had our shift of temperature to 70 to 75 degrees, and we are in heaven. And we'll be that way until May. So.
That's fantastic. You know, it's interesting. I was, over the last week, I was reviewing the history of Pilates, Brent. I mean, Pilates, the whole concept of Pilates actually goes way back to the 1800s, doesn't it? I had no idea that it goes back that long. I thought it was kind of like a newer concept, but it's not, is it?
No, and a lot of people think that. I mean, Joseph Pilates himself was born in the 1800s, and his father, one of the oldest pictures we have of him is he's lifting weights with his dad, in the earliest 1900s, but his dad was wearing those, the funny tights and the big dumbbells and almost like circus performers. It goes way back.
That's fantastic. How about the history of Polestar Pilates, Brent? I mean, I know you're part of that too.
Well, we're about as old as it gets in the modern day Pilates world, I think.
Yeah.
Back in 1987, I was taking a dance class while I was in physical therapy school, and got introduced to Pilates from the dance world. And that's pretty much where Pilates had stayed for about 40 years. That wasn't his intention back in the day. In the 20s and 30s, he wanted to change the world. But somehow he got tied into the New York City Ballet, and it sort of took over from there. But that combination of being in physical therapy school and then looking at this incredible system of wellness. Joseph Pilates was not just even exercise. He talked about sleep, he talked about nutrition, he talked about good hygiene and, balanced life stressors, and pretty much a perfect formula for us in these days.
Especially because, people are so sedentary today, aren't they, Brent? I mean, I even think of myself sometimes. I try to make sure that I at least get out, once a day and try to do some type of exercise. But I mean, I can literally sit at my desk all day from 7 a.m. till 9 p.m., 10 p.m. at night. And I found myself getting into that habit. So I mean, Pilates is certainly an important part of our society today, isn't it?
You are not alone, Marty. Matter of fact, I've been on a world circuit teaching sitting is the new smoking for the last 2 years, which is exactly
that
this
expression.
topic. And and it's really more sedentarism. And I think the thing is stand up when you take a phone call on your cell phone and walk around while you're talking, and try standing up or kneeling down and those kind of things. And that's something that we're very passionate about. And you asked about Polestar. We've been around 1992. We formally organized as an education body. And we've been educating Pilates teachers in now over 40 countries, and we have over 6,000 graduates around the world that probably half of them come from the rehabilitation world and the other half come from the wellness world or just career transitions, people that have just decided they had enough. And especially when the economy was crunched, it was amazing to us of how many people that were in banking and mortgage and law and dentistry and all kinds of different professions that you would think would be terminal degrees. And they shifted over and wanted to have Pilates studios and work in health. So very, very impressive time we live in right now where the millennials are so obsessed with being healthy. And it's really about a lifestyle. It's not even, like our definition of health was, did you go get your checkup, and did you, is your blood pressure okay, and or aesthetically, does my abs look strong, my biceps look strong? They have a very different outlook, and I think that's what's most impressive to me and very exciting to me for the future of the franchises, because we're talking about hundreds of millions of people that potentially are interested in moving and being healthy, and we think we're going to have a good market share of that.
That's fantastic. When I was studying that, there were so many things that impressed me about Polestar Pilates, Brent. I mean, you said something that I wanted to share with my my business students. You mentioned in an interview, you said the only way you're only going to be a Polestar graduate is if you're good enough to work with my mother. You said that. I don't know if you remember saying it, but you said it. And it was very impressive, because it shows that, you are very selective, as far as, who you're going to have work with your company. And I suspect it's the same thing with your franchisees as well. As I got the impression that you're very selective who you're going to take on to be a franchisee with your organization.
There's I just had an interview. We sort of, the typical process of interviewing somebody for a franchise, and they work with our VP of franchise, Russell Goldman, and they go through all the questions and their FDD and everything, and it finally comes to the day where they say, yeah, I'm really interested in pursuing this. And just this last week, we sat down in my office, and this couple came in, and it was actually emotional. It was like they had such incredible passion, and I knew them because I'd seen them training, I'd seen them going through the training and learning to be Pilates teachers, and these are people that have careers that are very prominent careers. So I was very impressed with the idea that here's somebody that has passion, and they have the skill set, and they have the business savvy. And so to me, it was like, look through the contract, you tell me what you want to change, and you're in. Because to me, I'm much more interested in that person that's going to be partnering with me in delivering health to the world. And that doesn't mean that somebody has to be a Pilates teacher to own a franchise by any means. It just means that they have to share that same vision. And we have a lot of clients who love what they do, and they've approached us and said, what about this area or this area? And it's like, hey, it's all open right now. We're brand new, and this is a perfect time to get in because it's not so expensive, and we're still discovering a lot of the ins and outs of running a franchise versus running our own studios.
That's one of the things I love about, your type of franchise, Brent, is, because I guess you could still, say it's a newer concept. It's not like McDonald's where everything has been systematized and there's really almost like no flexibility whatsoever, within an organization that big. Once you hit that point, it's pretty difficult to change the system, So I think that's fantastic. And it's a nice selling point, I think, for a lot of aspiring franchipreneurs. So I think that's very interesting. How do you describe Polestar Pilates to a prospective franchisee, Brent? I mean, if you were at like a franchise show in Miami and, someone approaches your booth and they say, the typical question is always, so what do you guys do? How do you typically respond to the question?
I think the simplest thing is we already know it's a proven concept that people love Pilates. It's very sticky. People stay with it a long time. And the Pilates studio, the franchise, is a boutique Pilates studio. So unlike our flagship that's, 6,000 square feet of Pilates, that would be very scary for somebody to think about that. But something that's 1,500 square feet in a strip mall that's accessible, it's a good lifestyle. They can work, 30, 40 hours a week and have a very rewarding business and, be in the community doing exactly what they want to be doing. And again, it could either be owner-operated or you can hire one of the 6,000, graduates that would allow to teach my mother, as you say. It's like we have a beautiful model. And I was very hesitant for many years to go down the franchise model. And just like what you just said, it's the same process of how do we protect the integrity and the name that people have come to expect around the world from the educated Pilates teachers, the graduates. And how do we produce and maintain that same thing? And, Russell said to me, well, if your graduate is who you put trust in, then it just has to be a studio that has your graduates in it, and that's the common denominator. And, that was when it sort of clicked in my head, and I thought, you're right, that's what it is. And so that's what we built the franchise on. It's the reputation of graduates, and we trust our graduates, and therefore we would trust them to run the business. And putting the business into such a simple model, I think, is another really important part. It's not complicated.
Right.
It's a simple model, and it has good just values built into it. And so it has a good margin, it has good business, it has good visibility, something you could be proud of in the community. Nobody would, bat an eye at having a beautiful Polestar Pilates studio.
And that's what in doing this show such a long time now and studying franchising, Brent, is and that's what I look at, and that's what impressed me about Polestar Pilates was that it is a very simple model, which makes sense to franchise it. You know what I mean? I would say, if you have a simple model, then this concept will work, whether it's in Miami or New York or Los Angeles. I mean, it'll pretty much work. This is a global concept, isn't it?
Yeah, and matter of fact, part of that problem solving, we get calls from Bolivia, calls from Japan, calls from Australia, Europe, Russia, and our thought to them is wait till 2017 for the international. We'd love to get a few more opened up domestically that we can manage, but part of that modeling that we did was looking and saying it's built on ratios. So in Bolivia, where the cost of a Pilates class might be $5, and in the United States it might be $25.
Right.
And depending on the part of the United States, in New York it might be $40. In Japan, in Tokyo, it might be $45.
Sure.
But the teachers are making proportionate to that economic scale, and that was the thing we started to figure out because we knew we would be getting calls from people all around the world, and it's like, how do you ensure the same quality and have a completely different economy to scale? I mean, going to Bolivia or other countries in South America or Central America, you can't pay a teacher $40 an hour, and you can't charge a client, $20 an hour. It just doesn't work. And so the beauty of it is it's completely to scale. And so the formulas, like you said, are so simple, and because the franchise is a percentage, it's also to scale. So, if you're a studio that's doing $80,000 a year in a developing country, that's fantastic. I mean, these people are making $10 a month, in their, they're surviving, and these people are making $250 or $300 a month. So, it really is providing a boost, we think, to the economy. And it's things that can be done right inside these countries, which we're really excited about. And we've done that with the education for years. So now we're excited to do it with the studio.
Yeah, and in all the interviews, we're slowly approaching our 500th interview, Brent. And a lot of the franchise concepts that I've interviewed, they can't do that. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times it's a good, you know what I mean? So they can't really adapt that pricing when they move to, whether it's they want to go into Bolivia or Colombia or a place like that. They run into those issues. They say, well, how are we going to adjust the price? We can't do it. The cost of goods sold is still too high. So, and that was just another factor that impressed me about your business model when I was reviewing it. I said, wow, this just, it makes so much sense. It seems like the industry, another thing that I look for too is the growth in the industry. And it seems like there's some nice growth in this industry as well because, Pilates isn't just for, as we were talking a little bit earlier, millennials, because they're so big in health and fitness. I mean, Pilates applies to really, it's a very big market. And I guess that attributes to the growth in the industry, doesn't it?
It does. And I think that the last statistic I saw was, in the United States, there's 12 million people that claim to do something with Pilates once a week.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's a significant number. And then you add to that people that are participating in yoga, people that are doing Feldenkrais, people that are doing bar, people that are doing, different types of martial arts and those kind of things that are seeking. The people really looking for that mind-body wellness. And I think that number is what's going up more and more. And you mentioned, I would say over 50% of my population at our studio, at our flagship, is probably over 50. And,
over 50.
And it's just over 50. And I would say a large number of them have come back from major back injuries, surgeries, cancers, and many other ailments that they've said, you know what, I don't want to be sick anymore. And when they try to go to something like a gym or CrossFit or something like that, it's just too hard for their bodies. And they realize that, having balance, having awareness of their body and space and flexibility and having enough strength to perform their daily activities is exactly the formula that they want for their quality of life. And so we're seeing a lot of people that are golfers and tennis players that are in their 50s, 60s, 70s even. I have an 86-year-old golfer that comes in 2-3 times a week.
Wow.
He swears by it, and, you know, she's competitive and
right.
has had multiple surgeries and things like that that you would have thought would take her out of it. But her passion to participate in life, and I think I would like to think that we can take a little credit for that.
Sure, of course.
Because when you feel good and you feel like you can do, you change your paradigm. And I think there's, you know, two really important measures that have been done over time, outcome measures. The single greatest determinant of quality of life in people over 70 is whether they can get up and down off the floor by themselves.
Right.
And the single greatest predictor of longevity over 70 is how fast you walk. So when you look at very functional life skills like that, and I think this is where we come in with the studio, is like, you know, come in and take 2 classes a week and listen to the philosophy and learn how to implement that philosophy into your life. That, you know, if every day you're getting up and down off the ground, and I learned this lesson a long time ago. We had a neighbor that was 96, Gladys.
Mm-hmm.
And Gladys, every day when our children were little, she would get on the floor with them and play, and she would show how she could get down and up off the ground without using her hands. And every day she would stand up with her head against the wall to make sure she didn't get a Dowager's hump like her mother and grandmother had. But it was just this really cute lady, 96 years old, completely conscious of herself, walked every day, and just, you know, it impressed upon me, it is the daily practice of movement, it is the daily practice of proper nutrition, it's a daily practice of some kind of meditating or turning off, switching off the busy world in our phones for 15 minutes even, that make all the difference in the quality of your life. It's not, you know, we're not saying that you've got to be in the gym 2-3 hours.
Right.
We're saying, you know, go out and move every day, go walking, do a couple things, and whatever you do, that's what you are. We are what we practice. So, you know, like you said, a lot of times when I get stuck in the same thing too, Marty, where more administration, I find myself sitting more, and it's like, nope, I got to go see patients, I got to go teach a Pilates class, I got to get up off my backside and get moving. And that's what we have to do. We just have to move as a nation. We are number 29 out of 30 for longevity in the United States, in the top 30 economies. And the greatest factor is just the fact that we don't move enough. We're suburbites. You know, we hop in our car in the garage, we go through the drive-thru to get our Starbucks, we drop our kids off at the drop-thru, the laundry, and then we complain that we had to park 4 cars out from the elevator. You know, it's, and we're suburbites, and that's the greatest factor. And so really it's a societal thing. We almost have to create a way for us to move. You know, it's like we have to make a way for us to move. Like you said, just got to get up and change things.
Those are great examples. How has technology played a role in the business today, Brent? You know, I'm sure it's a lot different from, you know, Pilates in the 1800s, right? I mean, to, you know, where Polestar Pilates is today. I mean, how are you using technology today, or are you using technology in the business model?
No, we are. That's a huge reason why we're able to go into the franchise model. There's a great company called Mind Body Online, and they've provided, you know, a platform for yoga, Pilates, dance studios for years, and they've continued to refine their product. And now, you know, they've built it so that we have this incredible dashboard that's real time, and I could look at any studio and see how they're performing, the reporting. It has made it so easy. It's completely interactive with the clients, so the clients get notified, get reminded they got a class. They can schedule their classes online on their phone. The teachers can check people in. So in a lot of ways, with a studio this small, Marty, the teacher can almost be a one-person show if they wanted to be.
Wow.
You know, because the tablet shows you who schedules, who comes in. You check them off on the tablet. The tablet has the music in it that you're going to play, so you just plug the music in, and, you know, they're going. And I think the other really nice thing that we're planning to do in our franchise as we grow is the idea of broadcast. So we're making it so that every franchise has the ability to receive broadcast. So I can teach a class in our filming studio downstairs, and we can broadcast it live, or it could be, you know, in the reserves that they could bring up anytime they wanted to. And I think that's going to be, if we want to do health lectures or we do a thing called Pilates Hour that we do once a month where we have a webinar. And those are the kind of things that we're going to be distributing, those health tidbits through the platform. The other thing I was going to tell you that's been nice in technology is just even in our education platform. So we've built a pretty extensive education platform that we're looking forward to being able to use for consumers. So not just business to professional, but the consumers could log in and say, what was the nutrition thing that I need to do for myself? And they could find something on nutrition, or they could, just in the website to have so much resources that they could look at and find things out. And then the last thing is just finding a Pilates teacher near you. So not only do we have the studios, but we have the Pilates teachers who have been trained by us who are all around the world. So there's a beautiful network that if you were, part of a Polestar studio, you would know that there's another 4,000 or 5,000 teachers around the world if you were to travel that we could help you find somebody if you were going to be in Europe for a month or something and you didn't want to stop your habit or your progress.
It's very impressive, Brent. I think Joseph Pilates would be very proud, wouldn't he, if he was able to see where it's at today, and kind of like what you guys have done with it. I think he would be very impressed, wouldn't he?
Well, I like to think so, and I admire what he did, and his foresight was amazing, and the whole idea, and I guess this is something the public sort of needs to know too, is when you look at Pilates is really the only exercise environment that is originally designed to be assistive in nature and then progress to be resistive. So what that means is people who can't tolerate gyms and can't tolerate treadmills and can't even do this at home can tolerate a Pilates class, especially a Polestar class, because Polestar's specialty is making it available to everybody. So everybody learns how to modify the work so that the 96-year-old and the 21-year-old are completely stimulated appropriately for their body's condition. And, that's a very unique feature of Polestar, and that's what we're famous for, is being able to make it available to everybody, both from a cost standpoint and from a modification standpoint to any body type. So we have people that come in. We just opened a not-for-profit center down here in Florida at a place called Shake-A-Leg. And Shake-A-Leg serves wheelchair community, amputees, cognitive disorders with children, disadvantaged youth, and it's right on the water. So we have sailboats and kayaks and all these things that are all adaptive. And we put in a Pilates studio that's completely adaptive and free to these people. And it's the Pilates teachers that are volunteering their time to be able to come in and teach this community. And then they, in exchange, get access to the water so they can go sailing and those kind of things. And it's just a self-sustainable program that we've built over the last couple of years. And this is where, anybody involved in a Polestar franchise is going to be involved in the community. They're going to be, our expectation is that, we pay it forward and that we have a vision of making things available and scholarshiping and those kind of things that when possible. And, there's enough profit margin in these franchises that they're able to do that. And we want people to think about their community, not just, of course, bottom dollar all the time. There's plenty of bottom dollar in it for them to be generous.
What about the location, Brent? I mean, you're saying, it doesn't sound like, you need a lot of space to, have a Polestar Pilates. I mean, what do you look for in a location?
We have always been a destination location in the past. And with the studio, we want to be in your face. Right. So in the studio, we're looking for, either strip malls or on major thoroughfares. They can have signage that has walk-in traffic and really becomes part of these communities. And so just the other day we were looking, and it's not too far from where we are now, maybe about 4 or 5 miles south of us. The next franchisee is gonna hopefully be in that area, and we're just looking at the properties there that have this great exposure. And that's what we want is when people they're going to the grocery store, they're going to get their nails done, they're going to go to the bike shop, and they're going to see the Polestar Pilates studio, and it's going to be inviting them to come in. And one of the things we did in our Biscayne studio, the first one we opened up, is we've been just collaborating with the yoga studios, the restaurants, the clothing industry up there, and the community at large, just being present and having, happy, it's not a drinking happy hour, but it is a happy hour. Right. that we have health-wise on Friday nights, and it's just free, and free classes on Sunday to bring the community in. They can make donations they want. So there's a lot more to it that we've sort of built into the model, and we're still discovering. But our goal is really to be a critical link in the community that people recognize, and they might not use us all the time, but they would recognize and be able to see it. It's visible that this is a good energy spot for our community, and that's what we want people to say.
That's terrific. You mentioned the characteristics that you look for in your franchisees. Once you decide, Brent, that you like them, they like you, and you decide it is a true match for Polestar Pilates, what's the training like once that begins for a new franchisee? I mean, do they typically come to Miami? Is that how it works?
That's how we're set up right now. We have a full education studio downstairs, and they would come in and they would work with us both in the studios that are already set up, as well as doing their formal education. But remember, we have the education platform, so a lot of the education can be done online right from their home, and the support wherever they are in the world. And that's one of the things we have to, we film, we are able to put that film into an education platform. We're able to put, tests and questions, and we can translate it into multiple languages with our platform like we do for the education internationally. So that's our goal as we continue to progress and expand, that a lot of the training can be done online. And with the advent of modern technology, I was just, talking to somebody, face-to-face up in North Carolina, and we visit our licensees around the world all the time. And so I think that's going to really decrease the cost to the franchisee of having to get education. And remember that the education to run the studio is very simple. So we're talking at the most coming in for a week and be able to see what we do, and really what we're doing is teaching them how to market in their community and how to use the tools that we have to be able to drive traffic. And once we know we get 200 people coming into a studio, the studio is full. It's just keeping people happy at 200. And so we think that's anywhere from 4 months to 10 months, depending on the location, that the franchisee is really working hard. And I mentioned Russell's name a couple of times. Russell is an expert. When he came on with me a number of years ago, his challenge as part of this was take my fitness side of my business and develop it into a self-sustaining business. And within a year and a half, we had over 400 members, from like 50 members to 400 members. So we have some really good expertise on the team, and that's his passion. So with the first franchise, that's what, you just completely got them ramped up, and now the second one's getting ready to go, and the third one's in the hopper, and we're really pleased with the team that we have, and so are the people that are working with us. So the new franchisees are really happy with our support and what Russ does for them.
That's terrific. I imagine every day is a little different, for your franchisees, Brent, but, is there such thing like a typical day for a Polestar Pilates franchisee?
Well, in the fitness industry, you have to think of who's coming in and using our services.
Right.
And so it's very typical that our busiest times are going to be in the morning and the evening.
Makes sense.
Without a doubt. So, you might start, depending where you're at. In Colorado, they like to start at 6 in the morning. In Miami, we like to start at 12 in the morning.
That's great.
But I mean, we have classes. We might have a class a week that starts at 7 in Miami, but our high time is 8, 9, and 10. So we have tons of traffic that comes in 8, 9, 10 in the morning. And then our afternoons, for those that are working, we see a ton of traffic at 4, 5, 6, and 7. So let's say that you had a studio that had 1 or 2 classrooms, and you were using those appropriately. You probably would have a teacher would come in and open up and be the 7 o'clock class, and maybe even the 8 o'clock class, and the manager or the owner would come in at 8, 9 o'clock and just make sure they're there to, greet the people and to basically hobnob and socialize with them a little bit and build that community and be busy through that, 11, 12 o'clock time. And then they have a downtime typically from, 12 until 4 o'clock. And so a lot of times we have private training going on. People have special needs that might be working with a personal trainer in there. But in reality, that's the time to be establishing rapport and community business relationships and doing some marketing. And then the classes start again in the evening. And by no means does the owner, like I own my practice, I have, very competent people that are able to open and close the early and the late shift.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just, being present, especially in those real high volume times, of making sure that, you're meeting the people that are paying for these classes and making sure they're happy. And, the thing that I said is the system is so independent, the platform that, they pay online, they change their schedule online, they go on wait lists online, they get notified if somebody cancels automatically. Then when they come in, the teacher can easily put somebody in the class if they're a drop-in and there's space for them. It's very easy to manage. And that was one of the things that I was most concerned about was like, if somebody's not a good record keeper, I'm not going to know what's going on. But this platform makes it so that any time Russell and I could look at the dashboard and we can see the average fill rate on the classes, what classes are suffering. We can immediately go help them and give them ideas and some other marketing strategies. And then, of course, from the teacher standpoint, I mean, we have all of the continuing education already built into our system, so we can keep a Pilates teacher happy the rest of their life. And, they have to stay current. And I think that that's the other thing that's a great, there's a couple other Pilates franchises out there. I think there's only 2 others, but their franchise, they're teaching their people in a number of weeks to be a Pilates teacher. For us, it's a year-long process. I mean, it's a lifelong process, but a year before you can even for the exam. So you're looking at a whole nother quality of teacher that you're bringing into your studio. And they're trained, they're educated. I mean, this is these are top-notch people. We have physical therapists that are fed up with the healthcare system and working and seeing 5-6 patients an hour, and they make more money as a Pilates teacher and enjoy it more, and they can work privates during the afternoon, and they're perfect catches for a studio like that because they have this they have a doctorate degree.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You've been working in franchising now for years, so you probably have learned a lot, Brent, and the majority of our listeners, we call them aspiring franchipreneurs. So, a lot of them are really, we kind of say new to franchising. They have it in their mind that they want to get into franchising. But we find from doing the show such a long time now that, a lot of them don't even know where to begin because there just seems like there's so much out there today. So it's a bit intimidating. From everything that you've learned, since franchising the concept, I mean, what advice would you give to our listeners in their quest to buy your franchise? Because a lot of them are confused.
I mean, I first thing that came to my mind is love what you do. And, I just think of all the people that go to work and they hate what they do.
Sure.
And, to me, if you're looking for a franchise and you find a franchise that just resonates with your core and you just feel this, I love this, whether it's, I've seen franchises for, tutoring that are very successful or massage or that are, holistic food franchises or things like that or things that are a handyman and you love being a handyman. To me, there's nothing more important than loving what you're like. You can envision yourself being so happy doing what you're doing. And I think in the Polestar franchise, it's so built into it that it is, happy is everything. Movement equals happiness. And so we feel like that's a no-brainer. The other thing that comes to my mind is, a lot of people think when they see the franchise offering, they go, oh my gosh, $150,000 to $400,000, those kind of things. And, what I've learned over the years is, there's a lot of financial institutions that love to lend money to franchises because they're so much more successful than people going out on their own. And the idea is, between family and friends, if you can get $10,000, $20,000 saved up, you often can, move forward very successfully with a very low-costing loan because people love these types of businesses, talking about banks and new age financing for franchising, even old age financing. I mean, the SBA loves to loan money to franchise, and especially from a vocational standpoint. So I think that a lot of people have to realize they don't have to come up with, it's not unfathomable to come up and save your pennies to get $10,000 and go apply for a $150,000 loan and be able to open your doors in 4 months. I think that's a reality. So those are the two things. Love what you do, and don't be scared away by the price of it, and realize that everything's an investment and a risk. But I think the risk of a franchise, especially one that's well thought out, is so much less than a lot of people thinking of going out and doing things on their own. And it's just the quality of life is going to be so much better, so much faster. And then, if they're interested and they love what they're doing there and they really have the business bug, well, then go open up another one 5 miles away and another one 5 miles away. It's like it has a perfect expandable opportunity. And I always think of the franchisee as being the person that has that entrepreneurial spirit, and they're just looking like they also want to have a good quality of life. And I can tell you, as being one who started my business from scratch, it took years to build what we're selling as a franchise.
Right, of course.
And we survived. We survived it. A lot of my friends in the same business didn't survive. They opened up studios, they opened up physical therapy centers, they didn't survive. And so the question comes back is, why did we survive? And I think it's, we learned the lesson of the hard knocks of life, but now we're sharing those, and you don't have to go through those hard knocks. And so, that's why the beauty of the franchise is, look at the system, but understand that somebody's gone through the hard knocks already for you, and you can accelerate your entrepreneurial spirit a lot faster with a lot better quality of life. And, if you're talking about a 5 to 7% royalty to be able to have that kind of profit margin and that quality of life, it really is a good deal.
They don't have to make the same mistakes that you made in the beginning, Brent, and of course they can duplicate on your successes as well, and there's a lot to be said for that, isn't there?
Yeah, I think that's the key to franchise. And I had to learn that. I mean, I was not convinced of it, and then I started really researching and realizing, oh, they're a franchise? They're a franchise? Sure. I love that place. I didn't know that was a franchise. It's so well run, and started realizing that, what a great business opportunity, and for people that have that entrepreneurial spirit but don't want to be alone.
That's terrific.
And I think that's the key. With us, you're not alone. I mean, we got a wonderful support team, and I think that's the key. I think it's like knowing that you can be in a business that is purely yours, completely independent, and like you said, all the hard knocks have been taken out of it, at least most of them. Nothing's perfect, we know that. But when you do come across that challenge, it's like you got a support team that's there saying, we've seen this before in very rare occasions. Let's do this, this, and this, and see if that helps you out. And, if you don't have that support team and you're trying to do that, I can tell you from personal experience, it is really, really scary. And we want to take the scary out of business.
That's great. There's a great tagline, franchising is being in business for yourself, but not by yourself, and that certainly applies to, Polestar Pilates, which I think is great. So what's the plans for the future then, Brent? I mean, I can ask you, as the CEO of the company, I mean, where do you see, Polestar maybe 3 to 5 years down the road?
I've had a vision for a long time, Marty, and I'm careful because how sometimes it's the last thing you want to do is fail. And what I've learned is failing isn't just learning, and I've certainly learned a lot over the last 30 years. But I really do believe that we have the footprint right now with 6,000 graduates in 40 countries, and an education system in those 40 countries to support it in 12 languages. So we have this, we're not an upstart. What we've done is we've said now it's time to spin off a franchise of a business that's been well established for decades. And so that being said, we want to be very careful with our first 4 franchises that are all sort of lined up right now. We have 150 initial inquiries that are waiting to see what happens with the first 4, and that's why it's so important for us to do that right. But, you say 4 or 5 years, I look at great organization of franchises like Massage Indie, and I look at Orange Theory, and I look at some of the others that have just, they're similar populations, they've done such a good job, and now they're in the 1,000 franchisees, even just in the United States. And, I think that we have that kind of a product, and I think that we complement those. It's like, I feel, the owner of Orange Theory was a Polestar graduate, Ellen Latham. So, we're connected and tied into this community, and we love what Massage Envy's done. It's like this was another thing that sort of sold it to me, the idea of the franchise, is you can have really good quality, and the quality is based on the massage therapists they hire. And they hire really good massage therapists.
Right.
And they can offer it a price that you can count on in your community, and it's right there, So it's like the demographics are very similar. And so to me, I do see us being in that range in the next 4 to 5 years, and expecting our biggest growth probably in 2 to 3 years. And again, it's because I feel like as we sort of work out and get established, that we would expect to see maybe another 40 or so in the next year, and then we'd really explode from there. So that's what we're looking for.
That's terrific. What's the best way, Brent, for our listeners to get more information on Polestar Pilates as a service and, of course, as a franchise? I mean, any websites that they should go to?
Yep, they could go to the main one, polestarpilates.com, and just click on opportunities. And underneath the opportunities, there's a link, and you'll be talking to Russ in about 5 minutes.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's great. And I've enjoyed talking to you, Brent. This is a fantastic interview, and I'm very impressed with Polestar Pilates. I've done 500 of these interviews, and this interview is right at the top, so I really enjoyed talking to you. And I'd, already like to invite you back next year as you continue to grow, because I really think, Polestar Pilates really has something here. So I really enjoyed talking to you.
Well, thank you so much, Marty. We appreciate the opportunity, and anytime.
That's fantastic, Brent. We'll be right back with more franchise interviews. Coming up on segment 2, you're going to hear what every franchipreneur needs to know before buying a franchise. We're going to play a clip from our popular Great Quotes in Franchising podcast right here on Franchise Interviews.
The Stone Coat Franchise Opportunity. Are you looking for a unique and lucrative franchise opportunity? If so, take a look at Stone Coat. With a patented process which creates a true stone finish on almost any wall or ceiling, Stone Coat is a true game-changing product in the multi-billion-dollar construction industry. Stone Coat is applied faster, cleaner, and cheaper than conventional quarried stone, which saves both time and money. With advantages in remodel and new construction of both residential and commercial projects, Stone Coat is a true crossover product. The Stone Coat franchise opportunity provides a low startup cost, low operating expenses, comprehensive training, ongoing support, and no royalty payments. For more information on the Stone Coat franchise opportunity, go to www.stonecoatfranchise.com. That's www.stonecoatfranchise.com, or call us at 972-380-2700. That's 972-380-2700.
Franchise Teacher.
Would you like to know how to franchise your concept or grow your franchise business?
Meet the experts at Franchise Teacher.
The goal of Franchise Teacher is to teach, coach, consult, and advise. The team of experts at Franchise Teacher will evaluate your business model and present you with a winning business strategy.
Franchise Teacher will help you decide whether or not your concept works and if it's franchisable. Franchise Teacher is proud to have over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors.
Franchise Teacher are developers of over a dozen franchise systems, which include brick and mortar as well as home-based concepts of nearly 3,000 combined franchise locations.
Whether you need to add more units or get more customers, Franchise Teacher can help. We will teach.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn our proven system.
Coach.
Franchise Teacher will help you provide a game plan to succeed.
Consult.
Franchise Teacher will make sure you stay on track.
And advise.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn from our over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors. Take advantage of our free, no-obligation phone consultation. Simply go to franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
That's franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561 385-3032.
Hi everyone, this is Marty McDermott, the president of Franchise Interviews, and welcome to another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, where each podcast you get to hear a great quote in franchising. Well, one of the shows I strongly recommend listening to if you're an aspiring entrepreneur is Stop Riding the Pine. And the show is hosted by Jamie J. And Jamie is an amazing interviewer. He speaks with entrepreneurs on a variety of topics. And I had the pleasure of appearing on Stop Riding the Pine. And one of the topics that Jamie and I were focusing on were key elements to successful franchising. So this particular clip of Great Quote in Franchising, we're going to call this There's No Creativity in Franchising, and we're going to explain why. What do I want this franchise to do for me? Why are you considering getting into franchising? Because, a lot of times people that get into franchising, Jamie, I think probably should not get into franchising. They'll go into it for the wrong reasons. Well, they'll see the success of one franchise and they'll say, God, I wish I owned one of these. But that doesn't mean that they should necessarily buy into a Dunkin' Donuts franchise. And sometimes they go into the wrong franchise opportunity. So they might be suited for a franchise, but they're getting into the wrong franchise, So I think you really have to be open, to all the different categories that are out there. Again, going deep within yourself and asking yourself, what do I want this franchise to do for me? If you don't want to work on weekends, then don't get into one of these like children franchises where they're real busy on Saturdays or Sundays. So you have to say, what do I want it to do for me? And you ask yourself those deep-rooted questions.
Perfect. I think that's huge. It's very important for people to not jump into something.
Absolutely, because it's expensive too, Jamie. I mean, a lot of times, you're signing a 10-year contract, which is 10 years of your life. It's a long time, isn't it? I mean, it's
oh my gosh.
Like, I won't compare it to the sanctity of marriage, but
right.
Sometimes it goes further than that, I mean, having that 10-year commitment, so it is a very big commitment financially. It's a big commitment. I think you have to have the support from your family, whether it's your wife and your children, because the first year, typically, from what I've learned in doing this show such a long time now, is it takes a long time to get it off the ground. Even if it is a Subway franchise or a very recognizable brand name, you're still going to be putting a lot of work into it. So
right.
You might be missing that time from your family. And sometimes people get into franchising for the wrong reasons as well. Maybe they'll have a bad day at work, and they say, "Oh, I hate my boss."
I'm out of here.
I want to be my own boss. And again, franchising may not be the best alternative for that type of person. There's so many different types of levels of entrepreneurship. Franchising is just one. I mean, you could just initially start your own business where you get to be the creator. There's I hate to say this, but there's no creativity in franchising sometimes. I mean, you have to follow somebody else's creation, and that's okay for some people. For me, it wouldn't be, and I assume in getting to know you over time, you might have trouble with that as well, because again, you like to create,
I couldn't get outside of the structure, but I understand why that would be a good thing, because
exactly,
okay, they've been there, they've done that. You won't make the same mistakes that the original franchisor made, because they found the solutions along the way, and that's part of the attraction for franchise.
Exactly. I published. It sounds like I'm bragging, Jamie, but I just got one of a paper published in.
You deserve it.
If you'd like to hear that whole interview with Jamie J. of Stop Riding the Pine, all you have to do is go to stopridingthepine.com, and you can hear the whole podcast. And lastly, we just want to thank everyone for making this podcast such a big success. It's hard to imagine that we've been doing it now 10 years ago. It was one of the things I was talking about with Jamie on the show, is the longevity of the show. Is what started out to be a 1-month project turned out to be 10 years. So I just want to thank everyone for listening to the podcast and making it such a success. So thanks, everyone. We'll see you again soon with another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising from Franchise Interviews. Take care, everyone.